This video is sponsored by Card Kingdom. If you click on the link in the description below, it'll take you to their store and they'll know I sent you there. Hello everyone, I'm Neat Sahone, and it's Wednesday, so that means it's time for another MTG Top 10, the series where I rank cards based on their historical performance at Magic's highest level of competition. Today, we're going to be looking at Hill Giants. Hill Giant is Magic's original 4-mana 3/3, and just as the term bear is commonly used to refer to 2-mana 2/2s, Hill Giant is used to refer to 4-mana 3/3s. 4 mana for a 3/3 is not efficient at all, and it isn't even really good enough for limited if you have a vanilla 4-mana 3/3. It is such an inefficient stat line that there really are not very many 4-mana 3/3s that have been played at Magic's highest level of competition, though in doing research for this video, I was still shocked by how few of them have seen play. To be eligible for this list, a card has to have a converted mana cost of 4, power equal to 3, and toughness equal to 3. That made 405 cards eligible for this video, and of all of those Hill Giants, only 34 of them have at least one Premier Event top 8. That's less than 10%. Basically, you have to do something pretty impressive to overcome such inefficiency. Before we get started, a quick reminder on how I score cards in these videos. A Pro Tour, Players Tour, Mythic Championship, Legacy or Vintage Championship top 8 is worth 2 points, and a Grand Prix or Magic Fest top 8 is worth 1 point. Alright, let's get to number 10. At number 10, I have Shambling Swarm, which is able to overcome its stat line with a powerful death trigger, which puts 3 -1/-1 counters divided among up to 3 creatures. That can help make Shambling Swarm into a 2-for-1 at the very least, and frequently more than that. Pointing a removal spell at this guy is frustrating because of that ability, as is trying to decide whether to block or attack into it. The Swarm gained all of its points in the Odyssey Block Pro Tour, where it managed 3 top 8s in mono-black control decks, and another in a black aggro deck. There were many commonly played X1s in this format, making the Swarm extra potent. This included cards like Nantuko Shade, Werebear, and Basking Rootwalla. The Swarm has never gained points in any format outside of block. At number 9, we have the newest 4-mana 3/3 to make the list, Wrinkle, Master of Pranks. There are a couple of different ways to overcome what is a fairly inefficient stat line, and one of the best ways is to have a very full text box, and Wrinkle delivers there, coming with flying and haste, and a powerful damage trigger that lets you choose any number of options based on whatever is best for you. Haste and flying coming together makes it pretty likely you'll be able to hit your opponent with Wrinkle the turn he comes down. Taking down opponent's creatures and making both players discard are good options. You don't normally want to help your opponent draw cards since they might find removal for Wrinkle, but sometimes that additional damage really matters. Wrinkle has already seen play in both Standard and Pioneer. In both formats, he's played in black aggro decks. Wrinkle still has a fair bit of time left to put up points in Standard, so it's likely he moves up this list in the future. At number 8, I have Clickslither. This 4-mana 3/3 overcomes its inefficient stats by not normally staying a 3/3 for very long. Clickslither has haste and can do a ton of damage out of nowhere, thanks to its ability to devour your goblins and increase its stats and grant it trample, making it very difficult for people to efficiently block it in most situations. Clickslither was played in both block and standard goblin decks. One of the nastier things you could do was combine it with Goblin Sharpshooter, who would also let you ping your opponent or a creature for every goblin the Clickslither devoured, and you could do all of it without having to invest any mana. Goblin decks have existed in other formats over the years, of course, but Clickslither wasn't played in any of those. It seems unlikely Clickslither ever gains any points, unless it gets a reprint for Historic or something like that. At number 7, I have Emeria Angel. As we saw with Wrinkle, adding flying to the mix certainly helps make up for a 3/3, but 4-mana 3/3s with flying don't see much play in Constructed either, so you usually have to come with something else. Emeria Angel comes with the ability to build a bird army, since she gives you one anytime a land enters play on your side of the table. This means that if you wait to play her until you can also play a land, it's pretty difficult for you to not come out ahead of your opponent. This makes it so you can go wide with her in a hurry. The Angel was played in a variety of aggro decks while it was in Standard, including Bant, Mono-White Tokens, and Cawblade. She doesn't have any points since rotating out of Standard in 2011. At number 6, it is Master of the Wild Hunt, who has a similar strategy to Emeria Angel for overcoming his stat line. He's a one-man army, giving you a wolf token on every one of your upkeeps. He can also make those wolf tokens fight as a single entity that damages a single creature. Obviously, with a wolf coming down every turn, Master of the Wild Hunt is able to pretty quickly turn them into removal spells. He was primarily played in Jund mid-range decks while in Standard. At number 5, it is Mystic Enforcer, a 4-mana 3/3 that comes with protection from black and a threshold ability that transforms it into a 6/6 flyer, something that can really end a game in a hurry, especially because it generally has immunity from whatever the best removal spells are in most formats. Most of the decks that have played Mystic Enforcer were especially good at quickly getting Threshold too, including some decks entirely built around the mechanic. Mystic Enforcer gained points in Threshold decks in Standard, Legacy, and Extended. The Enforcer did not see play in block its first time through, but it did receive a time-shifted reprint in Time Spiral, granting it a second run through both block and Standard. Its second time through Standard, it was played in Green-White and Naya aggro decks, but it didn't gain any points in Standard as a result of the reprint, and it doesn't have any points since gaining a few in Time Spiral block constructed back in 2007. At number 4, it is Dungeongeist, another 4-mana 3/3 that brings flying to the table. It also has a powerful Enter the Battlefield trigger that lets you tap down an opposing creature for as long as the Geists are in play. This ability basically makes Geists into a 4-mana 3/3 flyer that is also a removal spell. The Geist coming down can frequently have an immediate impact on the board by tapping down the opponent's best blocker, and the Geist also really interferes with any race you and your opponent might have been having. Meanwhile, it can start swinging away for 3 in the air. In block constructed, Dungeongeist was played in Azorius aggro decks. Blue-white aggro decks also included the Geist in Standard, and it was also played in Delver decks there. Somewhat oddly, Dungeongeist gained all 25 of its points in a single year and has never been played since 2012. It isn't that odd for a card to gain all of its points in a single year. It's something we see in these videos from time to time, but it is pretty strange to have such a high point total all come in one year. Might be an interesting idea for a future top 10 to look at more cards like Dungeongeists. At number 3, it is Hellrider, who, despite having unimpressive stats, can represent huge amounts of damage out of nowhere. It's sort of a less narrow Clickslither in that sense. Hellrider can come down and represent 4 damage all in his own, while also adding a ton of extra damage to the table for each of your other attacking creatures. Hellrider's ability is static, and he doesn't even have to attack when he comes down to immediately impact the board, though that is usually what people do with him. Obviously enough, Hellrider is at his best in a deck that can aggressively go wide. In those types of decks, Hellrider coming down usually means the end of the game, since by turn 4, most aggro decks could easily have their opponent's life total down in the single digits. It has only ever been played in Standard, where it picked up points in a variety of aggro decks, including Rakdos, Gruul, Mono Red, and Jund. At number 2, we have a relative newcomer, Wicked Wolf, which is actually tied with Wrinkle for being the newest card on this list, as they were both printed in Throne of Eldraine. Kind of like Dungeongeists, the Wolf can come down and kill something in play. On his own, the Wolf is only capable of killing creatures with 2 or fewer power or 3 or fewer toughness. At least that's true if he wants to survive the fight. But decks that play Wicked Wolf also tend to have a bunch of food tokens in play, which allow the Wolf to not only become permanently larger, but he also gains indestructibility until end of turn. This makes the Wolf capable of killing just about anything when it comes down, and it also makes him a problematic creature to deal with in future turns, as he continues to increase in size while also making himself immune to most removal spells, and he also won't really be dying in combat. In Standard, he has been played in food-heavy aggro and control decks like Simic and Bant. One of the biggest enablers for that deck was Oko, Thief of Crowns, and once he got banned, Wicked Wolf had to find a new home, and he did. It's played in the various variants of sacrifice decks in Standard, including Golgari, Jund, and Sultai. Those decks seek to take advantage of sacrificing things with cards like Mayhem Devil, and the ability of the Wolf to sacrifice food without any mana investment. Those two things combined can result in a huge amount of damage. Wicked Wolf doesn't have any points outside of Standard yet, but it is being played pretty heavily in Simic aggro decks and Pioneer, so it seems like it may only be a matter of time. Wicked Wolf is still in Standard for quite some time, so it may have a chance at catching the number 1 card on this list, which is Olivia Valderin. Olivia is a very pushed 4-mana 3/3. She comes not only with flying, but she can damage other creatures while making herself larger, and she can also steal opposing creatures. Any opposing creature, really, since she turns her damaged victims from the other ability into vampires. In both Standard and Modern, she has seen play almost exclusively in Jund decks. However, she has fallen out of favor in Modern and doesn't have any points in any format since 2016, and with the Wicked Wolf hot on her trail, I don't imagine Olivia has much longer to remain as the #1 card on this list. Well, that does it for this MTG Top 10. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and share it so that others can enjoy it too. If you want to make sure you catch future MTG Top 10s, don't forget to subscribe. And if you need to catch up on the almost 300 MTG Top 10s I've already done, you should see the MTG Top 10 playlist on your screen now. Thanks for watching.